today I'll be explaining to you regarding a neurosurgery procedure which is called as VP shunt surgery, ventriculoperitoneal shunt surgery. So there is a condition called as hydrocephalus in the brain, which is increase in the water content of the fluid leading to pressure to the surrounding areas of the brain. How does this water content increase? So brain has particular kinds of chambers which are known as ventricles, which hold the CSF or cerebrospinal fluid. They produce as well as they hold, and there is a series of such chambers through which the CSF will pass one by one and ultimately drain into the sinuses. Also, it can also continue down into the spine. Whenever there is block in any of these areas, the water will not be able to drain, and hence it will lead to increase in water into the brain. For example, if there is a basin and it is clogged, if the water is still running, the water will get filled in the basin. It won't get drained. Similar is the condition in the brain. Whenever there is increase in pressure, the patient can develop a lot of varied symptoms like sudden headache, vomitings, difficulty walking, blurring of vision, involuntary passage of urine and motions, altered sensorium, drowsiness, in rare cases, seizures, sudden unconsciousness, and rarest of rare cases, sudden collapse and death also. So it is very important to divert this extra fluid from the brain to somewhere else in order to decrease the pressure in the brain. There are some entities which happen in old age, which is known as NPH or normal pressure hydrocephalus, wherein the water content increasing and patient developing different kinds of symptoms, especially in old age with respect to memory issues, urinary issues, and imbalance while walking. All these cases might require shunts. So what is a shunt surgery? Once the pre-operative workup is done, the patient is fit, we have gotten the general anesthesia fitness and any other sort of fitnesses if we require, we will admit the patient one day prior. We would have to do a head shave for the patient and do whole preparation from neck to stomach till the private parts in order to put the VP shunt. Once patient is taken inside OT, patient will be placed under general anesthesia, urine pipe will be placed. This will help in absorption of extra fluid from the brain to the abdomen into the peritoneum. Mostly there are two types of shunts available. One is fixed pressure and one is programmable shunt. In fixed pressure shunt, the valve is set to a particular pressure only. So we cannot control the drainage of water from the ventricle into the abdomen if we are placing a fixed pressure shunt. Next is programmable shunts, which are the most widely used shunts these days, wherein the valve pressure can be set using an electromagnetic device from outside, which can help us control the exact amount of fluid which we want to drain from the brain into the abdomen. It helps to prevent a lot of complications with respect to over drainage or under drainage. So post-surgery, the patient might require multiple resetting of those pressures in order to achieve the exact amount of drainage of the fluid from the brain to the abdomen. So once the surgery is done, depending on the condition of the patient, we might observe the patient into the ICU for a day, or we might decide to shift the patient to room, keep the patient for 2-3 days, observe in any sort of improvement for the patient or any sort of neurological deterioration, and if everything is fine, we might discharge the patient to home or rehab, depending on the condition of the patient pre-operatively. After 10 days of discharge, the patient has to come for suture removal, wherein we will also be repeating a scan to see the status of hydrocephalus. Like any surgeries, this surgery can also have certain sort of complications. The main goal of any VP shunt surgery is first to decrease pressure in the brain by adequate diversion of excess fluid from the brain into the abdomen, improve the neurological status of the patient, prevent imbalance of the patient, prevent urinary issues of the patient, and in long term might also help in improving the memory if at all there is no permanent damage to the brain structures. What can be the complications of any VP shunt surgery? First is bleeding. Since we are going inside the brain and putting the catheter into the ventricle, there are minor chances of bleeding in the brain parenchyma through which the catheter has passed. If at all this is very severe bleeding, In rare cases, we might need to do decompressive craniectomy in terms of opening the skull and relieving pressure in the brain. This is an extremely rarest of rare complication of any VP shunt surgery. Second is, VP shunt is a technical mechanical device. So device failure can occur in any situation. Second, the catheter is very thin. So there can be chances of blockage of the shunt, blockage of the catheter. If at all the patient develops any sort of infection, the catheter blockage can become even more prominent. The shunt tube, it is very thin, so it can lead to breakage or detachment of the tube from certain structures. Some sort of shunts, especially the programmable shunts, the pressures might change if an MRI is done because both are electromagnetic devices. So if at all any patient has tumor for which the shunt surgery was done and patient is requiring repeated MRIs, then definitely after the MRI, it is advisable to reset the shunt pressure in order to avoid changing of pressure and changing in drainage dynamics. And definitely, like any surgery, there can always be development of some unforeseen circumstances or unforeseen complications which are not in control of the doctor. Next is infection. We are putting the catheter into the ventricle, hence 1 to 2% chances of brain infection can always be there. The only treatment of brain infection is antibiotics. There are always chances of surgical site infections, wound healing issues, and also sometimes exposure of the shunt, which might lead to resurgeries to cover the shunt catheter, chamber or the valve. There can be delayed wound healing, and since we are dealing with cerebrospinal fluid here, sometimes leak of cerebrospinal fluid can also happen, increasing the chances of infection. Sometimes there can be displacement of tube from where we have placed, which might lead in collection of CSF on the stomach, and we might have to do revision surgery wherein we might have to open and reposition the tube. In so many cases, the shunt is a permanent device that has to be kept in the body of the patient and it doesn't need any removal lifelong. If at all there is any shunt failure, we can either go for revision of shunt, or sometimes without disturbing the old shunt, we can also plan to put a new shunt in place. If at all the shunt, tube, valve or catheter gets infected, then only we might have to remove the shunt, tube, catheter or valve. In future, if the hydrocephalus settles on its own and the patient no longer needs the shunt, then in cases of programmable shunt, we can set the pressures to such a level that can make the shunt completely non-functional. If we are using the fixed pressure shunts, then we might just put an incision and tie the shunt tube in order to make the shunt non-functional. Another problem that can happen with shunt in 3 to 5% of cases is over drainage or under drainage. In terms of under drainage, the hydrocephalus can be persistent, and whatever amount of fluid we want to drain, we might not be able to drain, leading to change in pressure, or if it is a fixed pressure shunt, we just have to aspirate from the chamber. Sometimes in VP shunt, over drainage can happen, because of which there can be shrinkage of the brain and development of subdural hematoma, or that is we call as bleed outside the brain. Most of the times, if we change the pressure, this bleed can be resolved. Very rarely, if the bleed is very big, we might have to open and surgically remove the bleed. Any shunt surgery, like any brain surgery, has chances of development of seizures, very rarely speech issues, paralysis, rarest of rare cases. Post-surgery, we want to get the patient out of ventilator support, but sometimes it might be difficult to get the patient out of ventilator support. In that case, there can be prolonged ventilator support need, prolonged ICU care, and sometimes even the need for tracheostomy in rarest of rare cases. Post-surgery, there can be development of cardiac issues, because any surgery under general anesthesia is definitely a risk to heart, brain, lungs. It is a surgical stress. So 1 to 2% chances of development of cardiac event or decline in cardiac parameters intra-op or post-operatively can occur, which is known as stress cardiomyopathy, which happens in 1 to 2% of cases. And definitely, there can be recurrence of hydrocephalus, or there can be high chances of shunt failure also. We are doing a surgery under GA, so 0.5 to 1%. Life risk, on-table death and sudden cardiac arrest can also be there.